What's up, guys and gals? My name is Eclepid, and welcome back to Remember11. This is the end of Kokoro's route. We're very close to figuring out if we're ever going to get out of here. And honestly, I don't think we'll be able to. But we'll see. How you guys doing in the chat? Saying the audio is screwed up again. YouTube's dumb with that. Welcome, welcome. Welcome, everybody. This game. What's up, Crow? How you doing? This game is certainly crazy. Absolutely insane. I love it. Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Well, we're gonna get right back into this. It looks like we only have 60 save slots, so see how this goes. If he wasn't here, we might have ignorantly killed Yuni with our own hands. Bears, Yomogi only shrugged his shoulders. Yomogi's eyes looked very gentle as he stared at Yuni. After 30 minutes, the feeling in my hands and feet had completely returned. Yomogi and I took turns warming Yuni's hands and feet in warm water. Yuni's complexion became much better as well. As Yomogi had instructed, I was hugging Yuni's body rolled up inside of a blanket. I thought it was just something they said on TV, but apparently lying with our bodies together was effective in itself. The cold skin in Yuni's body was transmitted to me through his skin. I desperately prayed as I kept holding Yuni. Live. You have to live. You can't die. I'll give you as much of my body heat as you want. So live, Yuni. Well, looks like we were that close to January 16th last time. A little bit of happiness. The night was long, far too long. Light broke through the night. The blizzard outside raged on and on. The demonic screams of the wind rocked the cabin and shook the windows. At this point, the only thing that can penetrate this storm is a miracle. Hugging her knees, Maizumi kept shivering as she sat there with a vacant look in her eyes. The several layers of blankets with which she was using to cover herself didn't seem to be helping at all. Weak groans escaped her lips, along with the sound of chattering teeth. Yomogi was sitting on his bed, flicking his letter open and shut continuously. His eyes, now devoid of their flame, stared blankly at the stove. Annoyed with the sound of Yomogi playing with the lighter, Maizumi had been pestering Yomogi in a shaky voice to stop some time ago. But Yomogi hadn't stopped. He's probably doing it so he doesn't fall asleep. What's up, Enrico? Welcome to the stream. The metallic sound was like the last form of resistance from a human whose flame of life was about to be snuffed out by the fury of nature. It was by no means pleasant to the ears, but it was the sound of civilization. It was absolute proof that we were still alive. It was our heartbeat. Yuni was sleeping in my arms. He had been in a dangerous state of hypothermia, but his body temperature was slowly rising. The heat was returning to his hands and feet as well. According to Yomogi, he was lucky to have survived without losing any fingers. When I heard that, I breathed a huge sigh of relief. Curled up in a ball, Yuni's soft breaths can be heard as he slept on. Even though it's dangerous to sleep while suffering from hypothermia, it'd be even more dangerous to waste his strength at the moment. It should be okay to let him sleep as long as I wake him up every 30 minutes. Wrapped up in my blanket, I stared at my beloved watch, which had been completely scratched up by now. In this long night, which felt almost like it would last for an eternity, I thought about many things. For example, I opened and flipped through the 20 years of my life like an album. Elementary school when I wrote a love letter. High school when I found out a senpai I really admired had a girlfriend and cried all night. Going drinking with friends in the same class and then going overboard with alcohol, resulting in a terrible hangover the day after. All of them were just simple everyday things. But when I think back on them now, all those days sparkled brightly like precious jewels. Perhaps dying will make all the memories I had accumulated inside me disappear. Perhaps everything will return to zero. All that will remain is the inorganic record that I was once here, and the pieces of memories I have left in the hearts of those who knew me. That'll be all. I don't want to lose those simple, yet irreplaceable, priceless memories. I don't want to die. I really don't want to die. Besides that, the long night made me ponder many other things. One thing that dominated was my thoughts with the situation with Satoru, about what Yuni had said in Svea. Satoru killed that man. Yuni witnessed it. That's why he was so frightened when he saw me in Satoru's body. I believed in Satoru, yet the things that have happened have made me lose faith in him. I once thought of Satoru as my partner, a partner with whom I shared the experiences of the strange personality exchange phenomenon. In a snowy world where no one else could be trusted, he was the only person I believed in. He killed someone. Because I was tossed right back into the blizzard, I haven't had the time to think about it. But now that I have, it's really frightening. Satoru, he killed that man. No! It wasn't Satoru. The murderer simply can't be Satoru. Because the person who had held the blade was Hotaru, not Satoru. Yuni must be mistaken somehow. After struggling with it, that's the final conclusion I came to. But what about the rations? He went and ate all the rations by himself. He ate Yuni and Yomogi's rations too. I hadn't told him that heart attack was for the three of us, so I was partly at fault, but I never thought that Satoru would secretly eat all the rations without telling me anything. No way. As far as I could tell from the notes he left, Satoru is a very reasonable person, even locked up in the shelter cabin. I don't believe he's the type of guy who'd eat all the rations on a whim. Maybe he had some type of special reason. Thinking that he might have left some messages that would serve as a clue, I tried playing the VR, but unfortunately there wasn't anything unusual recorded on it. Flipping through my head quickly, I thought back over everything that happened during these 5 days. Now that I think about it, when Satoru had eaten the rations, back then he had gone outside. That's right, I'm sure that I was outside the cabin when I transferred back. I don't know exactly why Satoru went outside, but perhaps he had gone out there to do something so that we could all make it back alive. Maybe he had to eat the rations because of that. What a convenient explanation. If Maizumi heard that, she'd probably double over laughing, but I want to believe him. That's why I decided to think of the problem with rations as something that couldn't be helped. I believe in Satoru, even if everyone else in the world loses faith in him. I believe in Satoru, because Satoru is my partner. Despite never being in contact with him, we're very close. It's as if he's my other half. Our relationship is the only thing that's keeping me sane. Ever since arriving at Sofia in the shelter cabin, I've become much more unstable. With nature's wrath at the shelter cabin and the murderous monster at Sofia, no normal person would be able to act like everything was okay. But thinking back, I realized it's because Satoru was here. Because he was so calm that I was able to keep my sanity. Satoru. Satoru. I wonder if Satoru is okay. I wonder if he's alive. I want to see him. To see him and to talk to him. I want to hear his voice. I want to touch his hand. Satoru. Satoru. My partner. My irreplaceable partner. Yuni woke up in my arms. Slowly, he opened his eyes. Just drinking some water. Yuni shook his head. Even though he looked still cold, he had a bright smile on his face. Can I stop worrying you now? I smiled slightly. At the same time, I was surprised by the fact that I was even able to smile. It's the first time I realized that people can still even smile in a situation as dire as this. Throwing off his blanket, Yuni jumped to his feet. What is this? Yomogi slowly raised his head. What? 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 3 days ago, Yomogi recovered a satellite phone at the scene of the plane crash. If we were able to get through to someone with the satellite phone, we could let them know our location. Then a rescue could be requested. But according to the newspaper article, no, even if we just ignore that newspaper article, the satellite that the phone needs to work can't operate due to the current effects of the solar winds. Even if the phone connects to the satellite by sheer luck, the chances of getting a proper connection is 1 in 1 million. Even if we were to dial once every second for 24 hours straight, we would get a proper connection only once every 11.5 days. You could call that a miracle. That kind of miracle has sadly not happened yet. That's what Yomogi's failures had taught us during these 3 days in which he tried and failed over and over again to make a call from the satellite phone. Wrapped up in her blanket, Maizumi interrupted. Yomogi hesitated as he rubbed his chin. I thought about it. Things might certainly be as Yuni had said. That's what I had started to think. At this exact moment, the phone may connect. There's still a chance for that miracle. Oh, Maizumi, never change. But Yomogi didn't move at all. Perhaps his hopes had already crumbled away because of the exhaustion from the past couple of days. I quickly ran over to Yomogi's bag and looked inside. I found the phone right away. 110, no. 119 isn't quite right either. I dialed the number Yomugi gave me. The phone's speak was silent. Just like he said, it was useless to try. The moment that thought entered my head... Holy shit. Eh? This...
はい、こちら白川遭難対策委員会山岳救助隊。
Yo! Is this real? Is this for real? My gosh.
あれ
Answer, 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 answer. Yes, answer! Before it went through! Before they hung up! Hang up! Yes, 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 yes. I'm so shocked that any possible response from right out of my head, they're gonna hang up on you. I stared blankly, not knowing what to say. Yomugi grabbed the phone. Yomugi yelled into the phone.
HAL18 便の乗客だ。墜落した旅客機だよ。ニュースでやってるだろう。行方不明。そういうことになってるのか。まあいい。そうだ。18便の墜落地点は南八甲田の赤倉岳だ。
What the fuck?
我々はその墜落事故の生き残りで、生存者は全部で4名だ。今は赤倉岳緊急避難小屋に避難してる。ポイントはわかるだろう。僕の GPS によれば、北緯40度35分35秒、東経140度55分20秒、標高プラス1298メートル。今まで何とかしのいできたが、そろそろ限界だ。物資も底をついてしまった。今すぐに助けに来てほしい。もしもし。おい、聞いてるのか。もしもーし。
Oh no.
切れちまいやがった。
Sorry. Alright, I'm back. Okay, we're being loud. Yomugi-san redialed right away again, but...
ダメだ。繋がらない。
No matter how many times he tried again after that, none of the calls made it through.
助けに来てくれるんですか？
わからない。
わからないってどういうことよ。あんたちゃんと説明したの？
言うべきことは言ったつもりだ。ただ、途中で切れてしまったんだ。向こうの返答が聞けなかった。途中から電波状況が悪くなって、ほとんど応答が聞き取れなかった。それどころか、きちんと内容が伝わったかどうかもわからない。僕の言葉をどこまで聞き取ってくれたのか。
それって場所とか私たちのこととか全然伝わってないかもってこと？
うん。自信がない。
ちょっとどうにかしなさいよ。なんとかしなさい。
Fucking Kokoro wasn't fast enough.
もう一度かけるのよ。
無理だよ、眉澄。さっき繋がったのだって奇跡みたいなものだったんだから。奇跡は二度起きたりはしない。
貸しなさい。私がやるわ。
Lean grabbed the phone and pressed the redial button once
つ
again.
ながるわ。つながるのよ、きっと。つながらなくちゃ困るのよ。つながりなさいよ。 どうしたのよ。どうなってるのよ。つながってよ。お願い。お願い。お願い。だから。
With the phone still in her hands, Mayuzumi eventually collapsed to her knees with tears in her eyes.
まゆずみさん。
I laid a supporting hand on her shoulder. Her shoulders were quivering.
あとは祈るしかない。僕らのことがきちんと伝わったと信じて、きっと助けに来てくれる。そう信じよう。
Even though Yomigi's words were hopeful and inspiring, they did nothing to comfort Mayuzumi. Putting down the phone, she stumbled slowly toward the bed. Wrapping herself in blankets, she went completely silent. No, she was muttering something repeatedly under her breath. If things keep going like this, she may just lose her mind. Getting more and more worried about her, I moved closer beside her.
今度こそ。もうダメだわ。私たち死ぬんだわ。何やってたんだろう。死に物狂いになってあがいて仲違いして、それでも生きようとして滑稽だわ。
Mayuzumi muttered into her blanket. She'd pretty much given up. Her eyes were hollow, staring at nothing in particular. I couldn't leave her alone in that state. I laid down in front of her. Sat down, rather. I said softly. I don't know whether Mayuzumi had heard me and decided to ignore me or if my words hadn't reached her, but she didn't respond and instead continued talking to herself.
思えばあっけない人生だったわ。つまらない人生。そうは思わない？いえ、あの時を除いては、あの時の私たちは輝いていた。生きる喜びに包まれていた。
We, our. Could she be talking about?
サトル。
I'm not sure when it started, but Mayuzumi was now in tears.
サトル、助けて。私を助けて。
Mayuzumi took hold of my arm. She looked into my eyes, but her stare was distant as if she was looking at something far away.
サトル、サトル、サトルに会いたい。もう一度あなたに会いたい。お願い。会いに来て。私に会いに来て。サトルのふりでも構わない。それでも構わないから言ってほしいの。私を助けてくれるって、守ってくれるって。どうして来てくれないの？私のこと嫌いになっちゃったの？私があなたの元から去ってしまったから、あなたを捨ててしまったから。
The person she's looking at isn't me. It's Satoru she's seeing, begging him, pleading with him.
でも仕方なかったのよ。親に逆らえなかったの。うん、そんなの言い訳ね。私の都合だもの。私の勝手な都合であなたを裏切ってしまったんだもの。だったら謝るから。ごめんなさいって謝るから。だから会いに来て。助けお願い。
Her fingers dug into my skin.
サトル、
The person she's asking for is Satoru. What she needs right now is not my consolation, but Satoru's words. If that's the case, I should try to remember Satoru's words from the messages he had left behind in the VR. To remember the way that he talked. Then,
リン。リン。俺だよ。
サトル。
ああ。そうだ。
Before all the words had left my mouth, Maizumi was already hugging me.
Satoru.
She held me tight with all of her strength, her arms wrapped around me. Tighter and tighter. The strength and intensity represented the strong feelings Maizumi had for him.
Satoru. あなたに会いたかったの。あなたに会うためだけに私は生きてきたの。生き延びてきたの。あなたに会うためなら何でもやった。ひどいことも理不尽なことも嫌われるようなことも何でもやってきた。他人にどう思われようと全然だって。私に残されてるのはあなただけだったんだもの。サトル。
I stroked Mazumi's back gently as she continued mumbling into my chest. She felt so fragile, like a child, like someone so very young. Her body quivered. Somehow an incredible feeling enveloped me. Feels as if I've really become Satoru, as if I've really become someone close to her. I want to protect her. I want to save her. The feeling spread through me.
ねえサトル、覚えてる？もしも私が突然この世界から消えてしまったらどうするって。私が
覚えてるよ。
Of course, I don't know a thing about that. But I tried to imagine that something like that did happen between the two of them.
その時あなたはこう言ったわよね。リンのいる世界を見つけるよって。もしその世界が見つからなかったとしても見つかるまで探し続けると思うって。あの時の言葉嘘じゃなかったのね。あなたは私が消えた後も探し続けてくれた。こうして会いに来てくれた。
ああ、もちろんだ。当たり前じゃないか。
Stroked her hair gently.
嬉しい。
Her body stopped shaking.
そしてあなたはこう聞き返してきたわよね。もしも突然この世界から俺の存在が消え失せてしまったとしたらどうするって。私は半年も経てばあなたのことなんて忘れてしまうって答えた。でも忘れることなんてできなかった。あなたを失ってしまったことが辛くて辛くて苦しくて苦しくて毎日毎日耐えられないくらいに悲しかったの。寂しかったの。ただの強がりだったの。嫌な女よね。
そんなことないよ。リンはそうであってこそのリンなんだから。
サトル、お願い。どこにも行ったりしないで。消えちゃったりしないで。一人にしないで。私のそばにずっといて。ずっとずっと私を離さないで。お願い。お願いよ。
Azumi held me tighter and tighter.
リン、大丈夫だよ。大丈夫。俺はどこへも行ったりしない。ずっとリンのそばにいる。俺はいつだってリンの中にいる。
サトル。
Then we talked about all the memories she had of being with Satoru. We talked on and on endlessly. about sweet, happy memories. Innocent and delightful memories. Pleasant memories that had made us both smile, and painful memories that had tugged at our heartstrings. Petty troubles that made funny stories now. That was the history Satoru and Mayuzumi had created together. The stories they had woven together. Like a spring gushing forth, Mayuzumi spoke. I remained silent and listened. I listened on as Satoru, not myself. I was Satoru in these moments, alone with her. I watched Mayuzumi. He was there in one of her white, small, well-shaped ears. A simple earring. Could this be a present from Satoru? I slowly reached down and touched that earring. Mayuzumi gave a small jump.
ごめん。平気。サトル、私の耳とかピアスに触るの好きだったわよね。私が耳感じやすいの知ってるくせに。そうやって私の反応を見るのがあなたは好きだった。エッチ。
I hope I'm not turning red. I'm Satoru, so I can't let this face me. Self-control, self-control. Good, with that I should be alright.
それに引き換え、私は子供っぽかったかも。いつもあなたにじゃれついてた。
Surprising. The usually resolute, strong-willed Mayuzumi definitely doesn't seem like a woman that would flirt with a man. So she changes in front of the man that she loves. No, that's not it. It could be that her everyday personality is just a mask that she created for herself, and this is a return to her real personality.
あれ、楽しかったよね。あれって。
What does she mean by
あ
that?
れよあれ。昨日話したじゃない。
Yesterday.
ちゃんと覚えててくれたじゃない。
What exactly is she talking about? I haven't the slightest idea.
ひょっとして忘れちゃった。そんなわけないわよね。
This is bad. I have absolutely no idea what she's referring to. Now would be a good time for a switch. We found out. What do I do? What do I
ほ
do?
らあれよ。ぐるぐるぐるぐる。ぐるぐる。ほらあれだろ。よく恋人同士がやる。
Now it's sheer desperation. I'll just go along with whatever she says.
そうそう浜辺でぐるぐるって。
Round and round on the beach. Round and round. Somehow this kind of scene came to mind. With Satoru as the axis, he held onto Mayuzumi and swung her round and round as she clung to him. Like one of those rides in an amusement park. That must be it. Using that mental picture as a reference, I spoke tentatively, since it was something I'd never imagined Mayuzumi
夜
doing.
の浜辺でぐるぐる楽しかったな。でもサトルはちっとも楽しそうじゃなくて。私だけ一人ではしゃいでたっけ。そうだったな。あんなのどこが楽しいんだか俺にはさっぱり理解できんね。
Though I said that, I fully understood Mayuzumi's feelings. Holding onto her boyfriend round and round, lovers playing with a beautiful night view behind them. A world, a space, a time just for the two of them. I could understand it well. No, wait, I'm envious. That was very romantic. After Mayuzumi left, she drew away from me.
いっぱい話したらちょっと疲れちゃった。少し横になるね。あ、おやすみ。おやすみ。
Lying down, she drew the blankets over her head. I caressed her back softly and stood up. Looks like she somehow regained her composure. Think she'll be alright now. Hey Juice, welcome to the stream.
ありがとう。
From beneath the blankets, Mayuzumi softly said that.
冬川さん。
Of course she did. Despite my good deed, I felt just slightly dejected as I thought I'd put on a convincing act, but I felt thankful to Mayazumi who went along with that me. I felt like I'd gotten a bit closer to her, even if only a little. And I was glad she had cheered up. I felt that way from the bottom of my heart. Leaving Mayazumi, I went toward Yuni. Yuni was squirming under the blankets. When I noticed, he was holding a radio in his hand. Angels descending in darkness.
あの時は濡れてただけだよ。ラジオの裏の蓋開けて乾かしたから。濡れたら壊れちゃうものじゃないの？あれ？ココロン知らないの？電化製品を水洗いして修理するっていう方法もあるんだよ。
While fiddling with the radio's dial, Yuni said,
ちゃんと乾かしてあげれば、ショートしない限り元に戻るんだ。
The speaker picked up some static.
ほらね。
Yuni tried to tune it, but
おかしいの。聞こえないや。やっぱり濡れたせいで。そうなのかな。
Yuni pointed a red light near the upper part of the radio.
ほら、ここのダイオードが切れてる。電球切れ？電球とダイオードは別だよ。電球みたいに切れたりしないの。これが消えてるってことは、内部の線のどこか切れてるのかもしれない。
In any case, Yuni was calm and collected, yet I could only feel hopeless, anxious, and insecure about whether help was on its way or not. Even Maizumi's moping around. Yomogi hasn't said a word since that incident either. I guess he had his own troubles to deal with as well. Is Yuni just pretending to be strong? No, wait. As he tries to fix the radio, he's listening, trying to listen into news from the outside world. To see if the media is reporting anything about us. Of course, Yuni is uneasy as well. I nodded in my head in agreement with the conclusion I had come to. As he tampered with the radio, Yuni's frown grew deeper. The radio was covered with weird scratches. There was a crack in the front of it as well. I recognized that radio, but from where? That's right, the day before yesterday. During my fight with Holter, I had thrown the first thing that come to hand, a radio at her. Oh, I'm right. I am right. Sphia is 2011 and this is in the future. This is a recreation of the plane crash that actually happened in 2011. That's my snow globe theory. This is an artificial environment right now. I made the decision on the spur of the moment. Is that when it was damaged? Wait a moment. Why is the radio here cracked just like the one at Sphia? Not only that, there's the charm too. The charm you had received from Utsumi and Sphia, the Yuni of the shelter cabin had it as well. Additionally, combed Yuni's bangs upward. As Yuni stared blankly at me, I could see an old wound was on Yuni's forehead. Isn't this the injury that Hotaru gave him the other day? It's all healed now, what does it mean? Where is this Yuni from? Oh god. I mustered up my courage and asked the question I've been wanting to ask all this while. I chose my words carefully and started talking about the radio and the wound. Meanwhile, Yuni stayed silent. With a strangely mature face that didn't suit his age, he looked at me. You know what? You know what? I'm dead right. Furthermore, Remember11. If this is... Okay, Ever 17 spoilers, so if you haven't read Ever 17, highly recommend you mute the video or skip until I've muted until I've changed the text box, because when I change the text box it means I've stopped talking about this. So, Ever 17, one person looked the same 17 years later due to something called, I think it was the cure virus? Or something like that? and cause them the process of their aging to completely stop. What if this isn't 2011? What if this isn't 2012? What if this isn't a year after? What if this is 111 years after? What if this is 3022 or something like that? At any rate, I don't think this is 1 year after. I'm pretty sure this isn't 1 year after. I think it's a lot longer than 1 year after. But I think this Yuni hasn't aged at all. And I think they're doing it to try to save the Kokoro that crashed and died in the 2011 newspaper. And the people that got thrown into the situation, the scenario. And this is 20, whatever year this is. Whatever they got thrown into here, they don't remember anything before this. They've got false memories implanted in their brain, and this is all controlled environment. To try to somehow get the Satoru of 2011 to save the Kokoro of 2011. But somehow they have to realize what's going on. Yuni can't tell them what's going on for whatever reason, otherwise it won't work. But Kokoro, the fake Kokoro of, let's just call this 3022. Not 3022. 2122. 111 years later. Not 1011. 111 years later. 2122. This Kokoro is in contact with the Satoru from 111 years back, trying to, or supposed to give him directions to save the Kokoro that's currently on the mountain. In 2011, the Kokoro that we haven't seen. Nobody's seen them, but she's up there. And Satoru's there at Svea. Doesn't know it. Anyways, that's my theory. Yeah. Anyways. Oh, and the whole thing about Yuni being mature. Looking at a mature look that didn't fit his age, did it say? Yes. Because he's not 11 here. He's older than that. I've solved it. While keeping my voice low so that neither Yomogi nor Mayuzumi could hear, I explained what I had experienced. Then, strengthening my resolve, I asked him,
Yuni, あなたはスフィアに行ったことがあるんじゃないの? 未来から来たんじゃないの?
From the past.
そんなわけ。でも、そう考
From the
えれば
past.
辻褄の合うことがあるの。ユニ、私が死体を見るって占いで言ったよね。私、本当に見たの。スフィアで。
Past.
それって予言じゃなくて、
Past.
本当のことじゃないの?
Not future.
ユニは未来のことを知っていたから、そんなことが言えたんじゃないの?
You didn't answer. He just silently stared at me.
それだけじゃない。ほら、あの新聞のこと。あれって本物だって言ってたよね。
Past, not future.
ユニは私たちがあの記事通り死んじゃうって知ってたから。だからあんなこと言ったんじゃないの？ひょっとしたらあの新聞自体ユニが持ってきたんじゃ。
Losing patience, I grabbed Yuni, who had been silent all this time, by his shoulders, raising my voice as it continued.
お願い。なんとか言ってよ。お願いだから。私たちどうなるの?
Something lightly fell from his breast pocket. Something white softly down. I picked it up.
これは
The feather of a white goose that was stuck in my hair the day I first met Yuni. The angel's feather. Because those simple words would have been so incredibly romantic. My confusion has reached its limits. The charm, the cracked radio, the cut on his forehead. And he's the angel's feather. I like how the chat is completely silent, not even reacting to my theory.
そう記念だよ。ココロンと出会ったことを忘れないようにするための。
I looked into Yuni's eyes. His eyes were hollow. I didn't know what he was looking at. Perhaps he wasn't looking at anything.
あなた
Who are you?
あなたは誰？あなた何者なの？
おい、どうしたんだ？
Oops. Didn't mean to do that. At that instant, how do I turn off this fucking auto skip? Fuck off. Yuni let out a strange scream, jumped out of his bed, and broke into a run. Shit. Shit. Why did we do that? Or why is he running away? What the fuck? Oh, dear God. He opened the door before I could even stop him. Cold air rushed into the room. There was a roaring blizzard outside. Yuni flew out into the raging storm. I chased after him in a panic. Oh my gosh. Yuni was standing in front of the shelter cabin. The driving snow striking his face, he stood there looking up at the sky.
どうしちゃったの？ユニ
He didn't answer.
ユニってば
While shielding my face from the whirling snow, I called out to him again. Maybe she wasn't supposed to realize it. Maybe she fucked it all up by realizing it. What happened? Did my question cause this? Was it traumatic to him?
もう聞かないからだから戻ってきて
Hearing my desperate appeal, Yuni slowly turned its head toward me. And in the furious storm, Yuni... What the fuck?
かごめ
No. 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 No.
かご
No. 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 No.
いつ
No. 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 No.
やる
No. 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 No.
夜
No.
明けの晩にずると亀がすべった後ろの正面だれ
He was swallowed by the raging
何
storm.
をしてるんだ？
Yomugi rushed outside and caught Yuni, who was still standing in front of the
また
cabin.
低体温症になるぞ。
Yomugi grabbed Yuni and returned to the cabin with him. To shut the door, I had to practically throw my whole body's weight against it.
何があった？
わかりません突然飛び出していって
Yuni had his eyes closed. Had he lost consciousness?
低体温症になると
What the fuck was
幻
that?
覚を見たり暴れ出したりするんだ。その症状かもしれない。
Yomugi laid the back of his hand against Yuni's cheek. He touched his neck and the ear area around his armpit.
幸い体温はそれほど奪われていない。
Yomugi gently laid Yuni down on the bed. A pained expression contorting his face, he shrugged his shoulders.
申し訳ないが、さっきと同じように温めてやってくれないか。
わかりました
I embraced the senseless Yuni and wrapped us up in the blankets. The limbs that we'd painstakingly warmed up earlier were once again cold like ice. Meanwhile, Yomugi presented us with his own blankets as he said,
眠いようなら、湯川さんも寝てくれ。
でも
Oh my gosh.
曇っているが、一応太陽が昇っている。多少は気温が上がるだろう。昼間のうちに体力を取り戻そう。
よもぎさんは
Yomugi pointed at his
し
wristwatch.
ばらく経ったら交代してくれ。
それじゃあ起こしてください
Or the wristwatch. Yomugi looked up at Mayuzumi's bed. At some point she had fallen asleep. We could hear her weak breathing. Yomugi touched the nape of her neck. Is he checking her heart rate? He also placed his hand in front of her mouth to confirm that she was still breathing.
眉墨を少し眠らせよう。消耗がひどそうだ。
Yomugi reached out and started to rummage around Mayuzumi's bed. He was probably fixing her blankets. Then he returned to my bedside.
眠るんだ。また眠るんだ。それまでの間。
I held Yuni tight and closed my eyes. Is this Yuni really the Yuni from the future? I wanted to know, but he had run away. I couldn't ask him anymore. I didn't want to burden him any further. With my eyes closed, I buried my face in Yuni's hair. What is the truth? That newspaper isn't real? Can we stay alive? Lots of problems swept through my mind. But before long I fell asleep. Like that of a newborn baby, a deep, deep sleep. Why are we seeing the outlines of everything again? That's creepy. And night came once again. We took turns sleeping until the sun set, but we could barely recover any of our strength. Our food, fuel, and water had been used up. The air inside the shelter cabin was so dry it was getting difficult to even breathe. Yes, the air was so cold that breathing in made my lungs crowd in pain, and when you breathed in through your nose you felt as if the inside of it would freeze solid. Even though we had our coats on and blankets draped over us, they were completely useless as protection from the cold. I couldn't stop my body from shivering like someone severely ill. It was difficult for me to even move my limbs. Inside the shelter cabin, all our conversation between us had stopped completely. We didn't so much as utter the words, "It's cold." Our discolored lips quivered intensely inside this small cabin enshrouded in darkness. Only the sound of her shaky breaths reminded us that we were still alive. Yuni, who was now asleep and cuddled beneath Yomogi-san, looked almost as if he had stopped breathing altogether. We were at our limit. I had felt this way many times before, but it wasn't until now that I felt the reality of death drawing closer and closer. The god of death, known as Cold, had invaded the shelter cabin and was contemplating whose neck would be the first under his scythe. I didn't know if the phone call yesterday had actually made it through, but even if it had, the rescue team probably wouldn't come up for us in this blizzard. I breathed this sigh into my frozen fingers. Are we going to freeze to death like this? Is there nothing we can do but sit here and shiver this way as we wait for our death? To get caught up in this bizarre phenomenon, bizarre personality exchange phenomenon and die without understanding any of it? I tried forcing my voice out, as to make sure I was still alive, but that voice creaked and faded away. I prayed for it in my heart, for hope, for the hope to live on, no matter how small it may be. I wished for a light to reach out to. I wished for a light to lead the way. Personality exchange in 3, 2, 1? No. Without it, we were all going to be crushed by the complete darkness that enveloped us inside this cabin. Seventh day. Oh god. That's no good. This is the landslide day. Countless hours passed. I didn't know if the blizzard outside had subsided at all. The snow that had piled up on the roof fell to the ground with a loud thud. Suddenly, Maizumi's lips moved. When I heard what she had said, I looked at my watch. I couldn't see very well because it was dark, but it looks like the hands had made their way back to 12 a.m.
なんだ。
新聞があったわよね。あれ、燃やして。
The newspaper had originally been placed on the shelf, but we had broken the shelf into pieces for firewood, and the newspaper paper had since been shoved under my bed. I reached out and grabbed it.
薪の代わりにはならないぞ。
それでもいいから燃やして。
Her voice was strong and determined, surprising from someone who had looked so weak. Yuni had been sitting right beside Yomogi, shifted his body a bit, and glanced over. For some reason, he looked annoyed. When she heard the question, Maizumi went quiet for a moment, but then she said... She muttered.
その新聞がどうせ嘘に決まってるだろうけど、今日私たちが死ぬって書いてあるのよ。そんな悪趣味な新聞置いておきたくない。そんなことしても無駄だよ。
And his voice was strangely calm.
新聞を燃やしたって記事の内容が消えるわけじゃないんだ。そこに書かれていることは本当のことなんだから。黙れ！こんな時に悪い冗談やめて。
Spouting off almost every hateful word in the book, Maizumi pulled the blanket over her head. Glancing over at Yuni as he continued mumbling, I opened the newspaper. I wanted to read it over once more under the moonlight, but the moon was hidden behind the clouds. Not even the smallest bit of light made it through the window. It was so dark I couldn't read the article. Just as I was about to ask for a flashlight, I suddenly remembered something. I took out the VR from my pocket, turned it on and pushed the switch. The display on the VR lit up and shone faintly. I could use it as a lamp. July 4th, Monday 2011, Heisei 23, three decomposed male and female corpses found on Mount Akakura. Missing passengers from the HAL crash? What day is it? What day is it? Is it June 17th? No. January 17th. Yes. Why do I think it was June 17th? An article from the future telling us that we had died. An article from the past telling us our past versions had died. Yuni had said the article was real. Before, I probably would have thought it was a joke and left it off, but things are different now. There's a chance that the Yuni inside this cabin is actually the Yuni of the fucking past, not the future. That's why. His words have gained more credibility. This article, it may actually be real. If Yuni has anything to do with Svea in 2012, it's not entirely impossible that he'd brought this newspaper here. I don't know how he could have done it. I don't even know if he was the one who brought it here. But if the Yuni of the future is here, it's not all that strange that a newspaper article from the future is here as well. I really do come up with the weirdest ideas. But because I've repeatedly experienced this unbelievable phenomenon of personality exchange, I found myself considering the possibilities that I'd normally find impossible. It's not that I believe in, but I've come to be able to consider it a possibility. I've come a long way, haven't I? I thought as I smiled bitterly. Right now I wanted hope. The words in that article were words of despair, but if we think about it in another way, I've actually come to gain more information about the hopeless future. The events that will happen today can be deduced from the article. It may even turn out to be a big advantage. Perhaps this was the ray of hope that I had been praying for. I don't want to just sit here and wait for death to come. If we're going to die anyway, I'd rather keep fighting until I die. Even though I'm really afraid. I'm afraid of the threat of nature. Afraid of our destiny of death. Afraid of our despair. Just a little hope is fine. Just enough for me to stand up and face death head on. I want my parents and friends to look at my death afterward and say Kokoro did her best. Giving myself a slight nod, I began reading the article, so as to absorb every word, every sentence I read on for my life. After reading the article for about 10 minutes, I noticed several very interesting points. I took note of a few of them. The bodies were discovered 1 kilometer east of the Mount Akakura shelter cabin. Due to the bodies of the victims being discovered away from the route down the mountain, the Aomori Prefectural Police investigation into the day of their death will continue. According to the Aomori Meteorological Station, an avalanche affecting Mount Akakura and its surrounding area occurred on January 17, 2011 around 6:53. If this avalanche is real, then at 6:53 we'll be killed by an avalanche 1 kilometer east of the shelter cabin. Something seems kind of suspicious here. So suspicious that even the police were looking into it. Why would we go toward a place like that? It's exhausting just imagining the 1 kilometer long hike through the snow-covered mountain. Besides, we're already at our physical limit. We're about to collapse at any second. So why would we head toward a place like that in order to go down the mountain? The article said we were away from the path down the mountain. Just in case, I turned to Yomogi to confirm it with him.
もしもここから出て下山するとしたらどっちへ進みますか
Yomogi answered with a surprised look on his face.
小屋の入り口を背にしてまっすぐに進むよ。山小屋ってのは下山道の方を向いて立っていることが多い。小屋を背にして方位磁石を頼りにまっすぐ進めば下山のもう僕たちには下山できるだけの体力は残ってる。
そうですか。
I looked beneath the bed. The compass that was on the shelf should have also been moved under here. I took the compass in hand. The door of the shelter cabin faces south. According to Yomogi, the way down the mouth is to head straight ahead facing south, and since we have a compass, there should be no way we would be confused about which direction we're heading in. It's baffling that we are trying to find a way down the mountain. We found 1 kilometer east of our current location. Unless in 2011, east was down the mountain. Perhaps. Or plus, how would we have hiked 1 kilometer in all this snow? I don't know if there's something peculiar or at that particular location, but I do know that what we were aiming for when we decided to go there, it was so we could be rescued. Right now, if it was me, I'd do the same thing. The effects of the wintry mountain here. To predict what we're going to do next, we just have to listen to our hearts. There's no mistake. Listen to our hearts, listen to our Kokoros. The reason we were heading there was so we could be rescued. Because our biggest goal, our only goal, is to go on living. Then what exactly is there at the place we were killed by the avalanche? Let's call it Location X, 1 kilometer east of here. Why did we head toward Location X to be rescued? After thinking about it for a bit, I came up with one theory. It's because... What the fuck? I suppose relief supply seems to be the more realistic option. But I want to believe rescue team. Is it because there's relief supplies there? Last night, Yomogi and the others said that they ran out of the shelter cabin because they had seen a helicopter. If we can take what they said to be true, someone risked their lives flying a helicopter into Mount Kokoro during the blizzard. Knowing that a helicopter can't possibly land safely during a blizzard. And if you think about possible reasons for flying in such dangerous conditions, the answer is clear. The reason that the helicopter risked those conditions to fly toward a mountain where it can't land. It's to drop off rescue supplies. That's probably what the rescue team was thinking. If there were survivors who made it out of the plane crash, and their rations and fuel would be depleted now. If things went on like that, the survivors would perish. But because of the violent blizzard, that rescue team couldn't do anything. Still, even then, they couldn't abandon those waiting to be rescued. That's why they risked their lives flying the helicopter. By dropping rescue supplies from the air, the survivors could hold on just a little longer. Then, when the blizzard subsides, the rescue team could be dispatched. But it was simply bad luck. The blizzard was just too strong. Because of that, they couldn't drop off the supplies there in the shelter cabin. So believing the supplies would be noticed by the survivors, they made the drop at Location X. The hypothesis seems to fit. At 6:53 on the 17th, we were headed toward Location X. There's no mistake. We went there for the same reason that I had just concluded with the case. We deduced that the drop point is 1 kilometer to the east of the cabin based on the direction the helicopter was flying in. Even though I didn't see the helicopter yesterday, the helicopter most likely passed the east, and that's why we in the future are headed toward Location X at dawn. And in the end, because of that decision, we were all killed by the avalanche. It's not the same this time. Thanks to that newspaper article, I reached this hypothesis at midnight. I know at 6:53 there will be an avalanche 1 kilometer to the east of here. I know at that time we will be killed by the avalanche there. In other words, if we arrive at Location X earlier than 6:53, will we be able to collect the supplies? And without getting killed in the avalanche, we can get a hold of the rations. A newspaper article from the future that we were all scared of, but now I'm able to take advantage of that to our benefit. I was pretty excited by my own deductions, and felt as if I had fought against fate and won. The flame of hope burned in my chest. I can even feel strength returning to my hands and feet, which up until now could only shiver helplessly. We can do it. We can save ourselves. No, we will save ourselves. I wanted to let Yomogi and the others know about my deductions, but I quickly shut my mouth. The hypothesis I had come up with just now is based on the assumptions that the newspaper article is real and Yuni is actually the Yuni of the future. But what if that wasn't the case? Just making them believe the two assumptions would take until dawn. Plus, when I asked Yuni whether or not he was the Yuni of the future, he became frantic and worked up. If he lost control once again, it would cost him his life this time. Furthermore, if I told them by the time I explained everything and we were finally left for Location X, it would be dawn already. If that's the case, our fate would turn out exactly like this in the newspaper article. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. A small puff of white breath rose in the air.
よし
Gathering my will, I got to my feet. With everything I've tried to put strength back into my weakened hand and legs. My body's shivering had grown less pronounced. Perhaps my body's being warmed by the flame of hope. Placing the compass into my coat pocket, I grabbed the flashlight lying beside the stove. Putting on my gloves, I stood at the entrance of the shelter cabin.
どうしたんだ？
ちょっと出かけてきます
I'm going out by myself to look for Location X. That would be best for us now.
バカを言うな。
Yomugi, surprised, tried to get up. But with Yuni lying listlessly against him, he couldn't quite make it.
どいてくれ、ユニ。
Yomugi tries to stop me as he moves Yuni out of the way.
冬川さん、やめるんだ。自殺行為だ。外は吹雪だぞ。
It's true that there's a blizzard outside. Under normal circumstances, going out there would indeed mean certain death, but I'm not like that. I'm going because I want to live. If the scythe of God of death is waiting for me there, I'll try to evade it. Even if I have to press on through the blizzard, even if I have to expose myself to danger, I want to save everyone.
すぐに戻ってきますみんなが生き残れるかもしれない方法を見つけたんです
Yomugi finally pushed Yuni to the side and began making his way toward me. He reached out his hand and tried to grab my shoulder.
何を言って。おい。
Faster than Yomugi could stop me. I burst out of the shelter cabin and raced toward the snowfield in the night. Fuck, why are we doing this? Well, I guess we have to. Yomugi's voice rang out behind me.
待っていてください
I called through the violent winds that disturbed the snow. It was dark outside. In the darkness and the storm, with the towering peak of the mountain to my east side of my cabin and to the east side of the cabin of my sights, I began moving forward. Cutting through the darkness of the night with the glow of the flashlight, I advanced. The roaring of the wind echoes in my ears. The furious dancing of the snow covers my field of vision. My whole body had already gone numb. Dull pain permeates the skin exposed to open air. I just pushed my way through on the snow, continuing to move forward. The slope wasn't too steep in other circumstances, it would be a rather easy climb. But with my strength at its limits like this, it's still quite a tough climb, preferable to a sheer cliff though it might be. I resolved myself to think more positively. After trudging up the hill for a while, the ascent suddenly ended. I'm at the summit. I can't see well through the darkness and falling snow, but it's all downhill from here. That's what the newspaper article had said. I checked the compass. This is the right direction. I mustered my resolve and began descent. Halfway down the slope, doubts began to cloud in my mind. Are the actions I'm taking the right ones? I thought that by going to Location X well before the time written in the newspaper, I could avoid the tragedy to come. But there is a but. Was heading to Location X the bad idea to begin with? By going there, am I just going to make what the newspaper foretold a reality? Would have been better for me to stay away from Location X. Sorta wa Chigayo. That's definitely wrong. Trying to set right what once went wrong. I'm trying to change fate. I'm trying to sever the chains of this tragedy. I really believed it. I shook my head back and forth repeatedly, as though to throw off my anxiety. It'll be alright. We'll definitely survive. After descending for a while, I began to see sparse trees. Beyond the trees, deep darkness spread out like a bottomless hole. When I used the flashlight to try and illuminate the way forward, the light made the snow clinging to the trees glitter eerily. I was scared. The earlier anxiety visited me again. An accursed history. I fated death. But I stepped forward once more. The snow was thick. Even taking a single step was difficult. In places where the snow was deeper, I stepped in and was buried up to my thighs. If I stop concentrating for even a second, I'm afraid I'm going to slip. But even as I advanced with determination, I found an easier way to proceed. If you move your legs after pressing the snow with your entire body, you can walk faster. Come to think of it, when we first went to the crash site, I think Yomogi walked like this as well. Is this the so-called rustling? Using my flashlight, I illuminated the watch on my wrist. It was a little past 1 o'clock. The walking speed of a normal human is around 4 kilometers per hour. In my case, my state of depleted stamina has me walking at roughly 1/4 that speed. To walk about 1 kilometer east, I'd have to push on for 1 hour straight. Just thinking about it makes me want to faint. My strength continues to drop. My limbs are sluggish, heavy like logs. Moreover, I'm sometimes assailed by a strong vertigo. If I crouch down, I'd feel like I won't be able to get back up again. If I stop moving, the place where I stand will become my grave. Cutting through the darkness and the snowstorm with the light of my flashlight, trying to mute the voice of terror within my mind, I advanced through the snow. Was it around 30 minutes after that? I was too tired, I crouched down on the spot. My remaining strength was nearly gone. Not that I have any spare energy to keep walking, but even if I do reach location X by some miracle, well, I still have the energy to go back. Besides, I still hesitated. Should I head to location X? The world given birth to by my actions, will it be a heaven overflowing with light, or hell engulfed in darkness? Can I repaint history, or will I merely repeat it? Which is it? What awaits me on the path ahead? Thoughts of my own strength now at its very limits cross my mind together with a tinge of anxiety. What should I do? Should I retrace my steps? If I go on now, I can still make it. Somehow I knew that. Oh, fuck. Oh, fuck. We gotta go. We gotta go. If we go back, we're fucked. We can't make it all the way back. Well, we might, but then we'll die there. The only chance we have is going there and eating whatever's there to give us strength. I desperately recharged my flagging spirit and pushed my way through the snow. A step. A step. Another step. I steadily advanced. Thanks to the uninterrupted downward slope, it was easy to move my feet, but conversely, I feared I would slip at any moment. With every step I take forward, the accumulating snow hardens and falls in. If I make one wrong move, I'm dead. Clinging onto the trunks of the trees, I carefully descended the mountain. I have faith in the hope that I'll live until I reach it. Before I realized it, panting, I'd begun to mutter in delirium. Save Yuni? Oh. I'm neither an atheist nor a person who actively believes in a god. But now I couldn't help but say those words aloud. The things I'd gotten involved with both at the shelter cabin and in Svea made my head spin. In my mind, it's almost like a divine possession. The idea had arisen that all of this was due to the machinations? I'd never heard that word ever used before. Machinations, probably. Oh god, what? If there is someone watching my struggles from above, I wanted to say. Oh, there is. You're in a snow globe. I'll fight. An unbreakable resolution. I want to fight. So it's not that I'm asking you to please hold out a helping hand, but just please be kind enough to watch over me. But I knew. God, it was cruel. Oh god. An hour had passed since I started walking, but by my own estimation, I've walked over 1 kilometer. Suddenly, the grove of trees came to an end, and a small open area appeared in front of me. It's too dark to see from here, but it seems that the ridge gets steeper from here. The avalanche probably originated on the mountain's peak. According to the newspaper from the future, we were killed by the avalanche at this spot. However, there is still time before the occurrence of the avalanche.
救援物資はどこにあるの？
My vision was poor due to the snowstorm. I used the flashlight to illuminate my surroundings as I frantically searched for the emergency supplies. And they must have dropped using a parachute. I'm sure they'd have used colors that would help it stand out. I searched with all my might, but
救援物資なんてどこにもない。
completely aghast, I sank to my knees. Was there an error in my reasoning? Or had it been not reason, but merely delusion from the start?
それじゃどうして未来の私たちはこんな場所へ来たの？どうして？どうしてよ？
I didn't know. I didn't know anything. Only the reality that there was nothing at this location X was thrust before me. God is so cruel. I thought it from the bottom of my heart. He gave me hope and then snatched it away mercilessly. Bit by bit it began to snow harder. If I stay in one place like this, I'll die. Fuck. Well... Somebody once told me to follow your heart for Kokoro. So... my heart says we should get the fuck out of here. Because if we search here, we're not going to find anything. We've already searched here, but if we turn back, we might run into something that'll give us what we want. I decided to turn back, and right there were the supplies, probably. I felt like I should return while I could still move. My weak heart whispered to me, "You've already given it all you got. Just get some rest. Once you do, you'll feel a lot more relaxed. Even standing up was painful. If I fell here, I'd probably fall asleep and die." Oh fuck, I forgot to save. I was sure my body would freeze. And then I'd probably be preserved beautifully in that form until spring came. I was tempted to just throw myself down onto the beautiful snow and go to sleep, but I quickly shook my head to drive away that sweet temptation and stood back up. I can't die here. I was worried about Yuni and Yomogi back at the shelter cabin. If I don't go back, they might come out looking for me. I don't want to expose them to danger. I took out the compass. It was difficult to focus on the needle because of my shaking hand. I kept my right hand still with my left. I started heading westward. I had to go back, no matter what, to the shelter cabin. But... oh no. Oh no. Oh no. We made the wrong choice. I walked on with all my might in a snowstorm so bad I couldn't even see as far as my toes. Relying solely on the compass, I just kept moving straight ahead. I didn't even have the energy to look at my watch. My vision was blurred, my thoughts vague. I gradually stopped feeling cold, and that was the scariest thing of all. I heard that when I can't take the cold anymore, I'll start to hallucinate. The snow will feel unbearably hot, making me take off my clothes, then I'll collapse half crazed on the snow and die. As I mentioned, that sort of a chill ran down my spine. The slope ended before long, and I finally reached the top of the hill. Just a little more. When I reach the bottom of this hill, I'll be able to see the shelter cabin. When I confirmed the way back with the compass, I accidentally stepped into a sunken place in the stone. At that instant, in the snow... oh, fuck. The snow collapsed under my feet. I lost my balance and tumbled into the snow. My body rocked as though I'd been caught and shaken hard by a giant. I screamed, but even that sound was absorbed by the snow. I fell down the slope of the snow-covered hill. We're fucked. I stayed buried there in the snow for quite a while. The snow felt very warm. I wanted to just go to sleep like this, but... brightness awoke me. The flashlight I gripped tightly in my hand was shining on my face. It was a miracle I hadn't dropped it. No, it was a miracle that I was alive at all.
私生きてるの？
I tried to stand, I staggered, but there was no intense pain. I tried moving my arms and legs slightly.
動く。
It didn't seem like I broke any bones. The snow was thick and had acted as a cushion.
小屋へ帰らなくちゃ。
I brushed away the snow that clung to my face. Even my eyelashes and eyebrows are frozen. When I rubbed them with my gloves, a grain of ice fell from them. As if guided by some kind of homing instinct, I unconsciously started to walk.
どこ？
Using the flashlight, I illuminated my surroundings. On the other side of my field of vision, narrowed by the snow, something reflected the light. I saw what looked like a skin-colored cloth.
ひょっとしたら救援物資。
I instinctively ran. It's a dead body. And it's one of them. It's pretty far from location X, but maybe it got caught by the wind and carried here. Oh, jeez. It wasn't the rescue supplies. No answer. Pulling on the fingers with my mouth, I took off my gloves. I reached out to touch the back of the prone woman's neck.
死んでる。
Is she with us on the plane? Why hasn't the snow covered her? It's not likely, but maybe when I fell down just now her body was uncovered? I put my gloves back on. I took hold of the flashlight. Straining my eyes, I could see the shadow of the cabin far away.
ごめんなさい。
I apologized to the corpse of the woman. At the same time, I thought to myself, I won't end up like her. I mustered my little remaining energy and began walking toward the cabin. I had returned to the shelter cabin.
心。
Yuni greeted me with an anxious face and ran up to meet me. What the fuck? Why is the 2011 Kokoro's body there?
遅くなってごめん。
While apologizing to Yuni, I keeled over on the spot. I couldn't so much as move a finger.
心。
Yuni wiped off the snow off my
そ
body.
のコート脱いで。溶けて体が濡れたら大変。
I slowly removed the coat with my trembling hands and threw it aside.
着物。
Yuni restlessly looked around and called out to Maizumi, who was curled up on the top bunk
リーの
bed.
コート貸して。
Maizumi looked down at him, openly annoyed.
いいから早く貸せ。
As Yuni unexpectedly strong toned, Maizumi looked daunted.
なんで？
She reluctantly took off the coat and tossed it over. Yuni draped it over my shoulders. After that, he piled blankets on top of me as well. Maizumi, having parted the cold, wrapped herself more tightly in her blankets. Most of the clothing that had shielded us from the cold had gotten wet during the march through the snow to the other day. We tried to dry them out inside the cabin, but they froze solid instead. We don't have any other coats. I felt a little apologetic.
手に当たらなきゃダメだよね。何か燃えるもの。
I couldn't do anything but shiver. Right now, this little boy seemed more reliable to me than ever before. I felt gratitude for him from the bottom of my heart. Thank you, Yuni.
そうだ。
Yuni went down to the basement. He came out back up, carrying a first aid kit and a box of waterproof matches. He took out scissors and tape from the kit. And then, God only knows what he was thinking, he started cutting up the blankets.
ユニ、何するの？この毛布を燃や も手伝って。
だからなんで私がそんなことを。
どうせお前も一緒に温まるんだろ。手伝ったっていいじゃん。
Reacting to the words warm up, Mayuzumi got down from the bed. Since she wasn't wearing a coat, she seemed awfully cold.
何すればいいわけ。めんどくさいことは嫌よ。
僕が裂いた毛布を春巻きみたいにギュッと丸めて、そしたら毛布がほどけないように端をテーピングで留め。
なんで。
聖司が教えてくれたんだ。リンが新聞燃やしてって言った時、新聞もね、固く絞れば薪の代わりになるんだって。1枚だけじゃ無駄だけどさ、きっと毛布も同じだよ。ギュッと固めれば薪の代わりになる。
たく。
Cursing under her breath, she obediently helped him. Their work progressed with astonishing speed. Before my eyes, they managed to roll up a few dozen blanket logs. After Yuni had thrown them in the stove, he headed toward his bed. He held his plush bear, TB, which had been lying there on its side, in his arms. He gazed into the round eyes of the bear and embraced it sorrowfully. Then Yuni readied himself and set fire to the bear. TB was made of cotton. He quickly caught on fire. Yuni sadly bit his lip. Yuni was burning the treasured toy, which had made it back to him across this frozen land for my sake. I'm sorry. I felt awful. Yuni put the burning toy in the stove. As though it were live coal, the blanket kindling flared up. For an instant I recalled what Yomogi told us about hypothermia. If exposed by hypothermia, immediately warm the hands and feet. I somehow calmed myself down and tried to check the state of my body. My condition didn't appear to be as severe as Yuni's had been last night, which means this shouldn't have turned to hypothermia yet. If so, I'd better warm my body to prevent frostbite. I held my hands out toward the fire while being careful not to touch it. My near-frozen fingertips pulse and blood gradually began to flow through them again. My continuously shivering body began loosening up. It seemed like it was absorbing the thermal energy. The firewood made from the rolled-up blankets burned slower than the first flare, warning me. Of course, it goes without saying that Mayuzumi had drawn near the fire with a look of desperation as well. I accepted some water heated by the fire from Yuni and drank it in one gulp. Mayuzumi stared at me with eyes full of greed. I was finally feeling refreshed. Then Yuni, looking restless, asked me a question. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? I didn't even think about him. Come to think of it, I hadn't noticed since I was occupied with the cold, but Yomogi wasn't in the shelter cabin. Are you kidding me? While holding her hands out toward the fire, Mayuzumi continued the subject Yuni had raised. I took a look out the window. The fierce snowstorm was still raging on, and within it was Yomogi still looking for me. I forced energy in my legs and staggered to my feet. I headed for the door. Yuni weakly held me back as I tried to open the door. I crouched down on the floor, making hollow sound against the boards. Because I did something so reckless, Yomogi might become a victim too. I wanted him to come back soon, as if laughing for me, thinking that the storm grew stronger. After a while, all of a sudden the sound of the storm ceased. The The fire in the stove had gone out long ago. Mayuzumi was back in her own bed, craned her head.
なんかあったかくない？
I wonder. I felt nothing at all. My body had nearly ceased to feel differences in temperature. Was it because I had stayed up too long in the cold place? I felt cold wherever I was. My still shivering body was proof of that.
吹雪が止んだからじゃない？
Mayuzumi inclined her neck repeatedly. No, who cares about that? Now that the storm has let up, I have to go out to look for Yomogi. I tried to stand. The instant I moved, my legs buckled.
ダメだよ、無理しちゃ。
I realized that I was weaker than I'd thought.
よもぎさんを
Yuni laid a blanket over my shoulders.
やんだんだから聖司もすぐ戻ってくるよ。ね、だから待とう。
What Yuni said was right. Rather than acting foolishly and adding a further tragedy to what we have to bear, it was better to wait. Yomogi is a pro when it comes to mountains. He'll definitely be alright. Of course he will, but even after waiting an astoundingly long time, Yomogi didn't come back. I continued staring at the face of my wristwatch. The second hand had continued to carve away at the seconds one after another. Inside the cabin, silent as a grave, only the sound of the hand's movements could be heard. Yomogi had yet to return.
聖司帰ってこないね。
Yuni had been encouraging me until only a little while ago I'd sunken into a deep depression. Yuni was worried after all, and in any case, he's much too late. Had something happened to Yomogi? Although I don't want to believe anything happened, if he did meet with some misfortune, it would be my fault. Feelings of inconsolable guilt began to tear my body apart as I thought of that. I grasped my watch with both hands. If the newspaper was right, then the time at which the avalanche would occur was quickly approaching. If I remember correctly, it was at 6:53. Not even 2 hours left. It'll take even slightly under an hour to get to location X, no matter how much I hurry. If Yomogi had some accident that left him unable to move, and if his condition led him to seek help at location X, I won't make it unless I leave the cabin right now. Yomogi would get caught up in the avalanche and die. My body had more or less warmed up, and I even got to drink something warm. However, there's no guarantee that if I make it back again, if I headed towards location X, even if I'd warmed myself up. Decomposed bodies. It has been confirmed that the 3 bodies that had sustained a large number of lacerations, believed to have been caused by an avalanche, they were caught up in soon after surviving the crash. I went over that sentence from the newspaper in my mind. I clutched at my head. What did I do? What should I do? Hey, Satoru, what would you do? Something must be wrong with me trying to rely on Satoru at a time like this, but if it were Satoru, he'd be able to come up with the best course of action while maintaining his composure. To me, Satoru was a person who I could put my confidence in. Satoru, what should I do? We haven't switched in a long time either. Yuni was hugging his knees and crying.
聖司、死んじゃう。このままじゃ死んじゃう。
Yuni's words were the trigger. That's right. What was I hesitating for? Let's all return together. Not leaving a single person behind to die, we'll all return together. That's what we promised. And besides, it was Yomogi who brought me to this cabin right after the crash while I was still unconscious. These past 7 days he had saved us time and time again. Even if he hadn't been here, we probably wouldn't have survived all this long. It's true that there was no guarantee I'd be able to return safely even if I left now. But hadn't Yomogi gone out in order to save me even though he himself wasn't certain that he'd be able to return safely? For me to abandon him despite that. This time I'll be the one to save him. I stood up once again full of spirit. Once on my feet I checked over the state of my body. My feet weren't unsteady. They were supporting my body properly. It's okay, I can walk. After confirming that, I walked to the door.
ちょっとどこ行くの？
よもぎさんを探してきます。
無茶よ。ここで待ってるべきだわ。
ココロ、ダメだよ。ありがとう。ユニのおかげで温まった。眉住さんとユニはここを動かないで。
Saying only that, I opened the door.
雪、止んでる。
The snowstorm that had worried us continuously had stopped as if it had never existed to begin with. It began to grow brighter from the east. The settling snowstorm was convenient for me. This would make it easier to spot Yomogi as well. If it's like this, I might reach the area 1 kilometer east of the cabin, location X, more quickly than before. Yomogi must be somewhere between here and that place. Yomogi-san, please be safe. Praying with all my might, I took my first step into the snow. I arrived at the gentle upslope, leading all the way to the summit, began raining up it. It was the second time today, and on top of that, my physical strength was nearing its limit, so I quickly ran out of breath. The gentle slope felt long and endless. I tripped in the snow and fell countless times, but even so I continued to advance as if crawling. I turned my head toward the voice and saw Yuni and Maizumi following me. They'd probably flown out here in a panic, and as Maizumi wasn't even wearing a coat. If those two went to location X as well, then this would all be meaningless. It would be just like what was written in the newspaper. I shouted at them as forcefully as I could and once again began climbing fiercely up the slope. The sky above the outline of the ridge was dyed a light orange. It's dawn, I have to hurry. As if whipping my own body onward, I was somehow able to climb up to the top of the slope. Unable to stand any longer, I crashed down and was falling over. My heart was beating furiously and my chest very tight, as though the claw of an eagle was gripping it. Closing my eyes, I hurriedly tried to control my breathing. I wiped the sweat from my brow. I yelled in a hoarse voice, trying to cheer myself on. I swallowed my saliva to help and moisten my dry throat. I put my strength into my numb and shaking legs, raised my head slowly, opened my eyes, and looked up at the path ahead of me. Before my eyes was an ocean stretching across the horizon. The smell of tide was carried on the wind. Is this an illusion? Even though it was an illusion, the smell of tide tickled my nose. White waves surged down the coast. Water was all I could see across the horizon. And from there, the first rays of the sunrise were beginning to peep out. No, this isn't an illusion. The rays of the rising sun shine dazzlingly upon my body. Did I just transfer? Thinking that, I turned my head. Behind me there was a large circular depression in the ground in the shape of an earthen bowl. There was nothing resembling a mountain to be seen anywhere. In the middle of the depression was the cabin we'd been staying in. Yuni and Maizumi were frantically trying to catch up with me. I hadn't transferred, I was still on Mount Akakura. I didn't switch bodies either. I'm still Fukukawa Kokoro right now, but... What is this? What is this? What is this? What is this? What is this ocean? When I headed toward a location X just a few hours ago, there was no ocean like this here. If you climbed to the top of the summit, it was supposed to continue in a downward slope the rest of the way. I'm sure of it. Because I actually went to location X where I thought the emergency supplies had been dropped. The entire 1 kilometer before location X should have been all continuous snowing mountain. But then why an ocean? First of all, this is Mount Akakura, 1298 meters above sea level. There shouldn't be an ocean here. There's no way there can be. Thinking logically, no, there's another problem even before that. I've made a mistake somewhere. Something's wrong, this is crazy. Did this mean that space-time is distorted and that Akakura is now connected to another place? The boundary of the place where we are right now is a complete 180 turn from the real world. It's as if another world is spread out before me. I fell to my knees. The limit of my comprehension had been exceeded. The world is broken. The things I thought were absolutely in had completely crumbled and disappeared. What was reality? What was fiction? If there was anything, such thing as reality in this world in the first place, I didn't understand anything. Before I had noticed, Yuni had caught up with me. Seeing the ocean, his eyes widened. He cheered and continued running down the slope. We shouldn't do anything carelessly when we don't know what's going on. Yuni ran along the coast. Maizumi, in just her suit, had completely forgotten about the cold and stood there, dumbfounded. Stumbling, she followed Yuni down the slope. Panicking, I followed the two of them. Catching up to Maizumi while she was still on the coast, I clung to her.
なんで海がわかりませんけど
Oh man, I was dead on. I was dead on. This is all a fabricated environment. I had an ominous premonition, a vague feeling of anxiety. Something was happening, something that couldn't compare with anything that had happened up until now. That is what it felt like.
どういうことよ
Maizumi was now coming closer to me instead.
ここは山の上じゃなかったの私にもわかりませんねえすっごく冷たいよ本物の海だよ
Yuni shouted in surprise as he scooped water up from the
ダメ
beach.
よユニ触っちゃダメ
Why I thought he shouldn't touch it, I didn't understand myself. Anyway, we didn't know its true nature. That was why it felt like we shouldn't get near it.
ねえ戻りましょうとにかく一度小屋に戻りましょうよ何言ってんの海岸沿いに歩いていけば街に出られるわよなんでもっと早くそれに気づかなかったのよあんな寒い小屋で1週間もバカみたいじゃない
Oh my gosh. I frantically shook my head.
違うの
There wasn't an ocean here just a few hours ago.
違うのよ
Maizumi suddenly gasped.
まさかあのおっさん一人で逃げただから違うの何がこんな海ついさっきまでなかったのよ
Perhaps pressured by my frantic appearance, Maizumi tilted her head, a dubious expression on her face.
よもぎさんは
That's right, where had Yomogi gone? Yomogi had followed me to Location X and never returned, and now Location X had disappeared. Now stretching in front of my eyes, there was an ocean. Where did Yomogi go? It couldn't be. Is he somewhere in this
そう
ocean?
でしょ
Frightened, I stumbled and fell into the snow. Because if anything had happened to Yomogi, it'd be my fault. At that
誰が
moment,
来るよ
my head shot up in response to Yuni's voice. Along the coast, I saw the silhouette of a person running toward us. He was still far away, so I couldn't see him that well, but there was no mistaking it. It had to be Yomogi. Feeling relieved down inside, I stood up and started dashing toward the silhouette. I shouted at the top of my lungs as I ran. I ran. The sunrise shone in on us. The sunlight was strong enough to blind me. Violent waves were drawn in from the sea, and silver-white snow sparkled in the sunlight. The silhouette approached from within the glittering sunlight. Little by little, the outline of the silhouette became clearer, and then I suddenly realized that...
あんなロングコート着てたっけ
Not only that, was Yomogi that slender?
おぎさん
My feet stopped their forward charge. As I shielded my eyes from the sunlight with one hand, my eyes suddenly froze on what they saw. No. That isn't Yomogi. That's... I gulped. My voice shook. My heart was throbbing so intensely it felt like it would fly out. My body stiffened as I opened my eyes wide. Person who shouldn't be here.
Satoru!
The one whose voice I wanted to hear spoken in his own voice. Even though we hadn't spoken even once, it felt like he was the person I was closest to. A partner who was more reassuring than anyone. A companion that I could believe in more than anyone. A friend I felt closer to than anyone. I had always wanted to meet him. But... this can't be real. There's no way this could actually be happening. We shouldn't be able to meet here. There's someone who shouldn't be here. Yukido Satoru. He existed right before my eyes. It was almost as if this were a Deus Ex Machina. To me, this was an event equivalent to a miracle from God. Satoru had stopped running and was now standing in front of me, staring at me and holding his breath. Satoru and I stood on the beach, gazing at each other's faces as the sunrise illuminated us.
なんでサトルがここに
I was barely able to get those words out. Is the Satoru standing in front of me the real thing? Is what I'm looking at right now real? Is this world real? Satoru was looking back at me in surprise as well. But then he suddenly nodded his head repeatedly as if he understood everything.
そうか。やはりそういうことなのか。
It was the first time I'd heard his voice. His words. However, it felt as if it wasn't real. This world lacked anything that was real.
サトルねえどうして
話は後だ。
My voice was interrupted by a stern expression.
急がないと大変なことになる。
大変って
What were you saying? What do you mean? Tell me. Tell me.
お
Satoru.
前たちはここで待ってるんだ。
You guys? What do you mean by you guys? Turning my head, Mayuzumi and Yuni were there. The two of them were standing there dumbfounded, their eyes fixed on Satoru. All of a sudden, Satoru broke into a run.
どこ行くのよ
Satoru didn't turn around even when I called to him. He was getting further and further away. Satoru was leaving. His back was getting further and further away. He was going to leave me behind. No. I don't want that. Don't leave me behind. Don't leave me alone.
ついてくるな。
His words didn't enter my ears. With only the feeling of not wanting to be left behind, I chased after Satoru's back. Because even if this wasn't reality, the only one I could rely on now, Satoru. Satoru was to me an inseparable existence, unable to part from one another, like twins in one body sharing the same fate. That's why I absolutely won't miss my chance. I won't let him go. I'll follow him. I'll chase him. In order to find my other half, I'll keep chasing after him no matter where he is. That's right. Surpassing light. And exceeding infinity. Wow. Ten out of 10. That ending got to me a little, not gonna lie. I think my theory is dead on, is what I'm thinking so far. This is years in the future. Perhaps we're... I was thinking the entire thing was artificial, but perhaps we're... I don't know why that body would be here. Everything was artificial. That was without a doubt the body of 2011 Kokoro. But what really surprised me is why we saw Satoru at the end. Because I didn't think there should be a Satoru, because Satoru we've been switching with is in 2011. If this is really 2011, then my theory is wrong. Is that Satoru that we saw at the ending perhaps Satoru that never got to meet Kokoro of 2011? And instead, same Satoru as the Yuni that's currently in our timeline. The Yuni had obviously lived at Svea before, who had the scar on his head, who had the pendant, who had everything, who had the radio. That's that Yuni that was from the past, who was with us in the cabin for whatever reason. And then we have the Satoru who showed up right at the end. Is he the Satoru that Yuni knew from Svea? Is he the Satoru who had already experienced this personality switching with him many years in the past? And are we going to be able to save the Kokoro of 2011? If my theory is right. Wow. I was not expecting it to be this good. Oh, wow. Wow. That's all I can say. Within the
7
cage.
月20日、天気、晴れ。眩しい陽光が、風鈴の音が、子供たちのはしゃぎ声が、夏を彩っている。こうしていると、雪山にいたことが悪い夢だったように思える。あまりにも過酷な、真冬の夜の夢。しかし、確かに私は、飛行機の墜落事故に巻き込まれ、遭難して1週間を避難小屋で過ごした。そのことを今も私の足に小さく残る凍傷の跡が物語っている。そして私は人格交換も体験した。私はスフィアにも同時に存在したのだ。白チュームでも妄想でもないと今ならばはっきりと言える。あの悪夢のような一週、私はあの小屋にいて、そしてスフィアにもいた。ユニも、よもぎさんも、まゆずみさんも、うつみさんも、ほとりちゃんも、 悟も確かにそこにいた。ここに新聞記事がある。あの避難小屋にあった記事と同じ。もう一度読んでみよう。今年1月、青森県赤倉岳に HAL18 便が墜落し、27人が死亡した事故に関連して、青森県警は新たに男女3人の遺体を収容したことを発表した。収容された遺体はすでに死後6ヶ月が経過しているために腐乱が激しく、まだ身元をはっきりと断定できていない。HAL18 便に乗っていた乗員乗客のうち、未だ発見されていなかった残る3人にほぼ間違いないとしている。遺体はいずれも赤倉岳避難小屋から東へ 1km 離れた場所で見つかっており、遺体には雪崩に巻き込まれた際に受ける裂傷も多数確認されていることから、3人は墜落直後は生存していたものと考えられる。しかし発見場所は下山ルートからは離れているため、遭難者の死亡当日の足取りについて青森県警では調査を進めている。青森気象観測所によると、この時期に赤倉岳の該当箇所周辺で発生した雪崩は2011年赤倉岳避難小屋に残されていた痕跡とも照らし合わせると、3人はおよそ7日間を生き延びたことになる。なお唯一の生存者として楠田ユニ君11歳が奇跡的に救助されている。ユニ君の精神状態は半年を過ぎた今も安定せず、頑くなに口を閉ざしている。青森県警はユニ君の回復を待って詳しい状況を聞くことにしている。18便の墜落事故では今回の3人の遺体の発見により、乗員乗客31人中30人が亡くなるという大惨事となった。新たに発見された遺体の身元は以下の通り。蓬誠二さん、黛凛さん、冬川心さん。皮肉にも救助隊の到着は雪崩の発生から約7時間後だったことを付け加えておく。ヤーチャイカ、私はカモメ。テレシコワの言葉になぞらえて、私は自分自身を公表した。私はカゴメと。そう、私は確かにカゴメだったのだ。
I'm right. Kagame, Kagame. The story is not finished yet. Truth is not revealed and it circulates through an incident. It is an infinity loop. What? Now starting? What? Album promotional flyers? Oh shit. The art changed. Now it shows Sphere. All we have is one picture of Satoru. Clear list. I go back. And we have a jukebox. Interesting. Why is this the background for that song? Wow. Well, damn. This was quite something. I think for now, I think we're done for now. But when we next play Remember 11, we'll be continuing. We'll be starting with Satoru's route. It's quite the experience. I'd say it's at least on the level of my Ever 17 experience, if not maybe even better. Anyway, guys, thank you all for watching.